Hello fellow creatives, welcome and welcome back to Seed Okay. Today's tutorial is on how to cut and sew this beautiful boo with this beautiful structured neckline as well as the combination of the two fabrics. It also has pockets, which is always a plus. So this dress was constructed in a way that it can actually be worn inside out because of the need finishing inside. Okay, so if you're interested to see how I came up with this, then make sure you keep on watching. You're definitely going to learn a lot from this video. So please, if you like the video and if you learned something, make sure that you like this video, make sure that you subscribe. Oh, and I forgot to mention that it has a slit. So yeah, just subscribe and let's get started with this tutorial. Okay guys, so first of all we want to cut the outer shell of the dress. So you want to get your Kampala fabric and you want to ensure that it has folds at the top. Okay, this is what is going to serve as the shoulder, and as you can see with the dress, that place is folded, there is no seam there. Okay, and it is because of the way you fold your fabric. Okay, so of course you want to fold it lengthwise, and then after you fold it lengthwise, that's when you now fold it sideways. I hope you understand. Just try to get your fabric to be folded like this and you're done with that. Okay, so after you folded your fabric, you want to go ahead to draw the neckline. Okay, so as you can see, we're going to be starting from the edge there where the fold starts, the sideways fold starts, and we're going to be marking 1.5 inches for the depth of the neckline and 3 inches for the width of the neckline. Okay, so once you mark that, you want to just mark it again, and then you want to create a box with those measurements just to guide your curve that you would create with the French curve, as you can see. Okay, okay, guys, so now that we're done with the neckline, it is time to move on to the shoulder and sleeve. Okay, so because there is no seam there, we're moving on straight to the sleeve and we're marking 21 inches for the sleeve. Okay, so from the fold at the center front there, we're going to be marking 21 inches like so. And then after we mark that, we're going to be marking the sleeve opening, which is going to be 12 inches. Okay, so once you mark that, you want to use your ruler to join the sleeve width with the sleeve opening, as you can see. Okay, okay guys, so once we're done with that, it is time to move on to the horizontal measurements. Okay, so the first one that you want to measure is your shoulder to bust, which is typically 10 inches, and you're going to measure that from the top. Okay, so once you measure it from the top, you're going to measure the actual circumference. Okay, so your full bust measurements divided by 4, and you're going to add 6 inches. Okay, so that it's a little bit freer the way boo-boos normally are, right? So you want to add 6 inches to that measurement. Okay, so once you add that, then you're now going to connect that bust measurement that you just measured to the sleeve opening, as you can see. Okay, I hope you can really see it. It's kind of hard because it's like on fabric, but I do hope that you can see it. Just mark the just connect the sleeve opening with the bust measurements that you marked, and then once you do that, you're going to go ahead to mark the hip measurements. Okay, so we're not going to be working with our waist measurements for this. We're going to be working with the shoulder to bust and shoulder to hip. Okay, so once you measure your shoulder to your hip, you want to do the exact same thing that you did for the bust. Measure your hip measurements divided by 4, and then add 6 inches for the ease that comes along with the freeness of the boo. And then once you do that, you want to connect that to your bust measurement so that you have that silhouette of your hip. And then the next thing to do now is to measure your shoulder to the floor length, which is the length of the boo. Okay, so my own was 61 inches, so I just measured 60 and then I just added 1 inch at the bottom since I was working with a tape hole that did not have that full length. Okay, so that is just what you want to do, and then once you do that, you want to create a line, as you can see that I did at the bottom of that place. And then what I'm not going to be doing is that I'm just going to be marking the exact measurements that I got for my hip. Okay, because I want it to be a straight fit all the way from the hip to the hem. Okay, so you just want to mark the exact same measurement that you got for your hip line, you want to mark it on the hem line. Okay, so yeah, once you're done with that, the next thing to do is just to connect that hem line to your hip line, and that is basically it for the drafting of this boo boo outer shell. Okay, and now it is time to cut it out like so. You want to cut out the neckline, the shoulder slash sleeve, the sleeve opening, the bust, the hip and hemline, as you can see. Okay, so yeah, I don't know if you've noticed I was cutting two fabrics at the time because was a bulk order, but just ignore that. once you're done with that, it is now time to cut the neckline for the front. Okay, so as you can see, we actually cut the front and the back together. Okay, so now we're just going to be cutting the front neckline since that one is different. Okay, so the first thing that you can see me doing here is just ironing that sleeve top there, that sleeve fold. And this is because when we want to open it up, when we want to draft the neckline for the front, I want to ensure that I know exactly where the shoulder is, where exactly where the sleeve is. Do you understand? So yeah, once you're done with that, you want to fold the neckline into two sideways. Okay, you want to fold it into two so that you have your front panel on one side and your back panel on another side. I really do hope that you understand. Just take your time with this. If you need to rewatch it, just rewatch it again, because this hack is really nice. Rather than cutting the front and the back differently, this hack is really nice because it's just going to give you very good finishing. Okay, so yeah, once you're done with that, you just want to pin it down and just ensure that everything is aligned. This is what you should have. Just look at it. This is what you should have as you are doing this. Okay, so yeah, once you do that, you now want to go ahead to pick one of the sides. It can be either side, it doesn't really matter. So as you can see, because of that creasing that we have there that indicates the shoulder line, you want to measure from that place there. You want to measure 10 inches. Okay, I went with 10.5 inches, but you should go with 10 inches for this. And then once you go with 10 inches for this, you want to mark it like so. And then on that same line, you want to measure 1 inch. You want to use your chalk first of all to just create the line first, and then after you create that line, then you're now going to go inwards by 1 inch. Okay, on that line, go inwards by 1 inch. Okay, and that is what is going to enable you to make the neckline. Okay, so because as you can see, the neckline is a V, but it has like a straight line first. Okay, so yeah, that is just that. You just want to connect it to that 1 inch mark that you went inwards, and you want to cut it out, and that is it for the neckline. So I'm just cross checking to ensure that every measurement that I made is the correct measurement, and then I'm cutting it out. Okay, so as you can see, this is what you should have. Really nice. You have your back neckline and you have your, front neckline, but the shoulder is still connected. Okay. So once you're done with that, the next thing is to cut out the extension of the other fabric, as you can see. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do here is that you want to measure the full measurement that you got for your hip. You divide your hip by 4, add 6 inches. You want to measure that from the width of the fabric. Okay, you want to measure it at the top and at the bottom, and then you want to draw a straight line connecting those points together. Okay, so that the full width of your fabric is the full width of the hip measurements that you had when you cut the boo. I hope you understand what that means. Okay. So once that has been settled, it is time to create the slants that you can see that the fabric has. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to be measuring is the length that we want. Okay, so we're going to pick one side and measure the 17 inches. I went with 17 inches at the as the length, and once you measure that, you're going to go to the other side and you're going to measure 11 inches. Okay, so this is the difference between each side. Okay, and then once you do that, you're now going to connect that 11 inches to the complete top of the fabric. Okay, so I'm sorry that place cut off, but just connect that 11 inches that you marked to the top of the fabric. And once you do that, you're now going to go to that 11 inches part, and then you are going to measure 17 inches, which is the length. And once you measure that, you're now going to connect that one to the other side of the 17 inches that you marked. I hope you understand what that means. Okay, so at the end of the day, you should have like a fabric piece that is slanted. Okay, and once you do that, you can just cut it out like so, and voila, you have the piece ready to go. Okay. So once it has been cut out, it should look something like this. So as you can see, I already went ahead to fold in the top and the bottom, and then I just pressed it down so that that place is pressed down, already, so that when I want to top stitches on the fabric, I do not have a problem like that. Okay. So now to determine where you want to place this slant fabric, what you want to do is that you want to get that shoulder line that we have. You want to measure 12.5 inches away from that. Okay, you want to measure 12.5 inches, and that is where the slant is going to start from. Do you understand? So what you just want to do is just measure it and align it like so. Okay, so I'm going to be doing my top stitching hack. Always use this hemming gum if you want to top stitch anything. First of all, iron it, make sure that it is flattened and it is secured with the hemming gum before you go ahead to sew on it. Okay, so as you can see, once I already aligned it with that 12.5 inches that I marked, then I just went ahead to use the hemming gum to put it in place and make sure that everything is laying flat and laying nice. Okay, so I also went ahead to do it for the bottom part as well, as you can see, and then I also did it for the sides as well, so that that place too is, properly connected when I want to sew the side seams. And then I now went ahead to stop stitch on it like so. Okay, okay, guys, so now that that is done, it is time to move on to the neckline. Okay, so for the collar for the neckline, it should be 5 inches in the width. Okay, it should be 5 inches, and what you want to do is to fold that 5 inches into half. Okay, so you can just cut a random length because we're going to be cutting out the excess later on. Okay, so as you can see, what we're going to be doing now is to be aligning the plain fabric that we have. It can be plain, it can be velvet for sequin fabric, any type of fabric, but it should be plain so that it would have that contrast. So yeah, you just want to align it like so, and then we're going to be sewing it all around the neckline from the front neckline to the back neckline. But the thing is that you want to ensure that you leave that space of the plain fabric at the bottom, as you can see there. Okay, you want to ensure that that place is left so that we would be able to have, the kind of neckline that it would have at the back. Okay, so that it would have, clean finishing. Okay, so at this point, in order to ensure that you sew it and you'll be able to get good finishing at the back as well, you want to ensure that when you are sewing it, right, that's plain fabric that you are using, which should be preferably a fabric that doesn't fray. You want to ensure that it is peeking out a little bit. Okay, you don't want to align the main fabric and the plain fabric together on the same line. Okay, so as you can see, as I'm sewing, the plain fabric is showing a little bit, and that is what you want, so that when you sew it and you turn it over to the wrong side, there would be that space there for the plain fabric that doesn't fray to cover the raw seam of the main fabric. I hope you understand that. Okay, so as you can see, when it comes to the back neckline, you just really want to take your time with, trying to navigate putting the curved seam to the straight fabric. Okay, so once that is done, you want to take it to your to your ironing board, of course, and you want to press it down so that everything lays flat. And as you can see, because of the way we did that, you would be able to see that there is that space, that extra length. So first thing that you want to do is you want to cut it off. So as you can see, we're not going to have this really nice looking V neckline in the inside. Okay, this is the inside. So yeah, what you want to do now is that you just want to just take it to your sewing machine and tack that bottom part. And then after you tack that bottom part, you're now going to make a top stitch on the fabric, on the plain fabric all around there like so. Okay, so that is going to enable the plain fabric to cover the raw seams of the Kampala fabric. So yeah, as you can see, when you are sewing that curved seam, just take your time with this. No need to rush so that you don't have any creasing on the neckline part. Okay, so yeah, this is going to enable you to cover the raw seam of the fabric and also ensure that everywhere is, and also ensure that the finishing is nice and everything is laying as it's supposed to lay. And that's literally it for the collar of the neckline. Okay, so to make the V shape detail, you can draft this directly on your fabric, but I use paper. Okay, so you want to go to the top of the pattern of fabric and measure 10.5 inches first of all. And then once you measure 10.5 inches, then from that 10.5 inches, you're going to go down by 9 inches. Okay, so on the other side, you want to measure 13 inches, right? And then after you measure 13 inches, from that 13 inches again, You're going to measure 5 inches away from that 13 inches mark, as you can see. Okay, so here I was kind of battling between 5.5 inches, 4.5 inches, 5 and 5 inches, but I went with 5 inches for this. And then after you do that, you're going to get like your pen or pencil just to try to create a curve with that. And then once you're satisfied with the way it looks generally, then you can now go ahead to use your main ruler, your main curve ruler, and your main marker to create the curve. Okay, so yeah, once you do that, this is what you should have, and that is literally that. You just want to cut it out. So for this one, because it was a bulk order, I had to do a different size. So yeah, this is just me adding it, but yeah, just wanted to point that out there in case it confuses you. Okay, so yeah, once you do that and cut it out on your fabric, of course we want to use our hemming gum to just conceal those raw edges, fold the top, the sides, the bottom in, so that it's only the what did you call it, only the right edges, the non-frayed edges that are showing. Do you understand? Yeah, so that is just what we want to do to ensure that everything is laying flat. And then once we do that, it is time to now top stitch it on the main dress. Okay, so yeah, that is just what we want to do. This is what you should have, and this is the next step to take. Okay, so of course the first thing that you want to do, you want to ensure that you have the middle of the v-shaped thing going on. And then after you do that, you now want to get the middle of the neckline, as you can see there, and then you want to align it. So this is just to ensure that the v shape is placed in the middle exactly. Okay, so yeah, the same thing that we did for the addition of the other fabric. We want to get our hemming gum and just use the hemming gum to first of all place the fabric where it's meant to be before we now go ahead to use our sewing machine. Okay, because if you just do it directly, things just won't be like, it won't be easy for you first of all, and things may move around. But if you use this hemming gum, you're rest assured that everything is going to lay flat. Okay, so yeah, once you do that, you just want to just use your sewing machine to make those seams, and that is it for the neckline. Okay, guys, so once you're done with that, the next thing to do is to sew the sleeve. Okay, so as you can see, the sleeve hem also has this addition of the plain velvet fabric. So you want to cut out the velvet fabric, you want to cut it out 2.5 inches, and then you fold it into two, same way we did for the collar of the neckline. Okay, so yeah, once you do that, you just want to align it. I didn't really use the measurement, so I'm just cutting out the excess. And yeah, once you do that, you want to just sew it the same way you sewed the collar. Okay, you want to ensure that the velvet fabric has space, that as you're sewing you can see that space of the velvet fabric, so that when we fold it down, so that when we place it down and everything, like in the inner part, the velvet fabric is going to cover the raw seams and the raw the raw edges of the fabric. I hope you understand. Okay, and once you do that, you want to first of all press and then just top stitch on the velvet fabric, and that is that for that. Okay, guys, so at this point, we're basically done with everything. The next thing is to sew the pockets and to sew the side seams. Okay, for these pockets, I have a tutorial on how to cut it, so I'm going to leave it down below. And at this point, what you can do is that you can basically just sew it normal side seams at the pockets normally and be done with it. Okay, but if you want to go the extra mile to ensure that they can wear it inside out, and then the seams are going to be concealed, then you can follow this step that I'm about to show you right now. Okay, okay, so to start, you want to align the pocket pieces with the wrong sides facing each other. First of all, you want to align them with the wrong sides facing each other, and then we're going to be sewing it. Okay, so from that top there where you don't really have that defined curve inwards, you want to measure 1 inches, and then you want to start sewing from 1 inches, so that you would have the space to be able to open it up and join it to the side seams. Okay, so yeah, once you sew that all the way around, then you now want to turn it over to the other side so that the seam would be concealed, and then you just want to press it down, ensure that everything is pressed and neat, and then you want to top stitch all over. Okay, So once you're done with that, you want to sew the side seams of your dress, okay? But because we're going to be adding the pockets, we want to leave the opening for the pockets, right? So pockets are usually supposed to start about 3 inches downwards from the waistline, okay? So usually the waistline is the shoulder to waist is usually 16 inches. So you want to mark 3 inches from that 16 inches, which is going to give you 19 inches. Okay, so as you can see, I'm just marking 19 inches from the shoulder. And then once you do that, you're now going to take your pockets and align them with that 19 inches. And then you're now going to mark the bottom part there, like the bottom end of the of the sleeve opening, as you can see, so that you know that okay, this is the period that I'm going to be leaving that opening. Okay, and then also because this has slits, what you want to do is that from the hem you want to measure 10 inches. Okay, so you want to leave 10 inches and mark it there, because you know that when you're sewing your side seams, you're going to stop at that part there for the slit. Okay, so of course, because this is a French seam, we're going to be sewing with the wrong sides facing each other first of all. So you want to take it to your sewing machine like this. So at the side seam, starting from the sleeve down to the hem, as you can see, ensuring that you leave the space for your pocket. Okay, so as you can see, once you turn it over to the right to the wrong side, then you now want to press it down to ensure that everything is laying flat and looking nice inside. Okay, so of course, because we left that opening there, like so, what you're not going to do is that you're going to fold that one in as well. Okay, you want to ensure that that place too is folded, but the only thing is that it's just going to be open. Okay, but you want to leave that place folded as well. So as you can see, once you press it down, you can see that the Kampala fabric is folded. Okay, so that is the way to go. And once that is done, then you can now go ahead to press down the rest of the side seams like so. Just press it down like so. Okay, and then you want to do that for the other side as well. Okay, so once that is done, it is time to move to the pockets. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is put the pockets like this, make sure that the bottom of the pocket is on the fabric, and then now flip it over so that it's like facing the fabric like this. So what we're going to be doing now is that top layer, we're going to be connecting it to the top layer the of the main fabric. Okay, the top layer of the pocket is going to go to the top layer of the pocket of the fabric, and then the bottom layer of the pocket is going to go to the bottom layer of the fabric like so. I hope you understand what this means. Just take your time. If you don't, rewatch it again and just try to get the concept first. Okay, so yeah, what you want to do now is after you do that, you now want to pin it down just to ensure that that place is pinned down and that place is secure. And once that has been done, we're going to be sewing each part of the pocket to the fabric like so. Okay, so to make it easier for you, you can put the pocket inside so that you can only see where you want to stitch. Okay, so yeah, that is just that. You just want to, align it with the fabric of the fold, and then you just want to sew it down like so. Okay, sew those two layers together, and yeah, that is just literally that for that. This part might be quite tricky because it's like kind of like difficult to align them together, but just take your time sewing it and you won't have a problem, and you will come out with a very 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 neat piece. And yeah, you just want to go over to the other side and sew the other side of the pocket like so. Okay, guys, so yeah, once you're done with that, this is what you should have. So you should have the pockets fully connected to the, you know, um, fabric. So now it is time to sew the normal top stitch that we would normally sew for the French seam, right? But when you get to that part where the pocket is, you want to backstitch, and then you're not going to sew to the pocket side there. Okay, you're not going to sew straight, you're going to go to the pocket, and then once you go to the pocket, you're not going to go to the bottom part of the pocket and start from the bottom part of the pocket and find your way to the side seam. Okay, so as you can see, this is the way you want to do it. Once you get there, backstitch, then raise your lever and then turn it towards the direction of the pocket like sew, and that will enable you to enclose the pockets to the dress and fully attach the pocket to the dress. And once you do that, you can now go ahead to sew your normal French seam. I hope you get that. Okay, guys, so once you're done with that, the last step is to sew the slit. Okay, so of course, for the slit, first of all, you want to ensure that you like make a stitch that will join like a horizontal stitch that will join the two layers together first of all, as you can see there. Okay, so once that is done, the reason why we cannot just sew this as we would normally sew a normal slit is because, as you can see, the raw edges are peeking through to the right side. Okay, so in order to fix this, what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be creating a bias strip with the main fabric, and we're going to be using that to top stitch on that place that has the raw seam, just to conceal that raw seam. I hope you get it. Okay, so as you can see, I'm just creating a bias strip. Originally I used the bias device, but it was just kind of like hard to deal with, and I just made sure that I folded the fabric twice at the bottom, and that gave me a clean finish at the top, since it wasn't something serious or like a neckline, and all I just had to do was just top stitch. Do you understand? Okay, guys, so once you're done with that, you should have your piece like so. And then what we're going to be doing is just basically top stitching on that part and ensuring that it covers the raw seam. Okay, so for this one, I thought that you have to fold the bias strip at the top, but there is absolutely no need to fold the bias strip at the top because we're going to be concealing that top anyways. Okay, so of course, as you can see, what you want to do is that you want to open up the fabric, ensure that what you are doing is you are top stitching on the right side of the fabric and you are concealing the raw edges, as you can see that you would have. Okay, so of course you want to top stitch on both the left and the right side, and then after you top stitch on both the left and the right side, you want to go ahead to do it on the other side of the slit, of the other layer of the slit. As you can see, it took like a long time trying to maneuver the fold, but there's absolutely no need for the fold, because as you can see, once you do that and you've top stitched, you now want to create a horizontal stitch just to put those two layers together, so that when you open it up, they are aligned properly. And yeah, that is literally that for that. The last thing is to sew the hem of the dress, and voila, you have your dress ready to go. Whew, that was a lot to deal with, but it's worth it. Okay, the final product is really worth it, really beautiful, really neat. And yeah, thank you so much for watching today's video till the end. I really do hope that you learned something new, and I hope that you try this out for yourself or for your client. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate your support. Please and please make sure that you like this video, make sure that you subscribe, comment down below. Thank you so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.